Gentlemen, ladies, Sandom Todd here. I don't really even know why I'm here. I don't have any new pickups or anything. Actually, that's kind of what I wanted to discuss. Um, the the collecting bug has pretty much left me, especially the further and further we get into these new consoles where it started getting closer and closer to digital media, and all the old hard media is um going up in price because of it, especially for old retro games and stuff. And I mean, I never bought my game collection with the intent of selling it for gain or anything. But you know, as the years have gone on and YouTube has changed, and now it's a few small guys just trying to hang on to some monetization or something, with their channels that might have anywhere from, 2 to 10,000 people, and then there's a few that have made it through, a few that have close to 100,000 or so. Bidhead 1000's the one I can think of off the top of my head that's kind of made a go of it. But, it's basically a bunch of shows that are sponsored by Factor Foods or some Grammarly thing, or who knows what it is. But these people come on and they pitch their stuff, and I understand. I mean, it's how they're making money to live. I mean, if they're doing it for a living. But it was never about that for me, and that's the whole nature of the collection. Is I was starting to get interested in recollecting, when or collecting, about 15 years ago, we'll say around 2010, and it was cheap back then. You could go to the reason why I'd even started is because my mom liked to go to the thrift store, and I was taking care of my mother at that point, and so one of the big things she liked to do was go to the thrift store and mill around. And I couldn't, I couldn't say no to going to the thrift store. I mean, it was cheap entertainment, in a way. And I remember going there. I didn't even pick anything up. I mean, really. I mean, not like video games or anything. I would buy things here and there if they were quirky or funny, or something from my past that I remembered. But I couldn't name 10 things I bought there. But one night, I don't remember why, but we went to this pawn shop, and it wasn't to pawn anything. I don't remember why. We needed something. Maybe we needed a new television, a small television for my niece or something. And we went to the pawn shop, and I remember there's a few around here, but I remember the one I went to, they had a full Dreamcast set up with 2 regular controllers and the Dreamcast, VMU units. I don't believe it had Rumble packs, but it did have VMU units. And it had all the hookups to the TV and stuff. And I don't even remember what they wanted. I think it was like in between 20 and $40. At most it was like 20. At most it was 40. I mean, and I don't even think back then I would have paid 40 for it. So something makes me think it was closer to like 20. And I'd never played the Dreamcast. I mean, I'd seen it on a couple of kiosks in Toys R Us and stuff when I was younger, but I never really played it. And the thing was, is I had a Nintendo when I was a kid, and that thing was a pain in the ass. Once the pin connector started fucking up on those, back then there were no replacement parts. And there were no, you didn't know. I mean, I took my Nintendo apart so many times and didn't know what was wrong with it, because I would look at it and be like, what's the problem, And finally figured out it's those damn pin connectors, and the pins would get bent up over time to where they wouldn't make good contact. Plus, if you're renting a lot of games that are dirty as shit and you don't know you're supposed to clean them before you stick them in, your pin connectors get all dirty from that and corroded, and it's just. So as a kid, till I was probably graduating high school, I mean, all my Nintendo shit was, by the time I was 92, 93, it was falling apart. And I remember I even gave a bunch of stuff I had, to a friend of my uncle's in promise that he was going to get me a new pin connector and fix up one of the systems and give it back to me, and he never did. I don't even know. I think it was just some guy my uncle worked with at the time. It wasn't like somebody he really knew. And it was like. So, I didn't think much of it. I don't even know. I think I bought a Nintendo at Game Exchange because I didn't have one. But for a while I didn't even have a Nintendo. I had some games for Nintendo, but I didn't have a system. Because what happened was, after that thing shit out about 92, 93, I bought a Sega Genesis, and I played the Sega Genesis. I was like, screw Nintendo, they were such a shitty console, in my opinion, back then. And I was like, well, fuck Nintendo, and I bought Sega and totally got into Sega. Loved the role-playing games they had on there, like Shining Force and the Phantasy Star games, and there was a lot of beat-em-ups back then and a lot of fighting games, and I bought a lot of fighting games. I mean, I bought like Turtles Tournament Fighters, Eternal Champions, all three of the Mortal Kombat games, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Then after that, I got a Sega CD, and I got really into the. I know some people hate them, but I loved it, and I still love how cheesy it is. The FMV movie games, the video games, I love them. Like Sewer Shark, Corpse Killer, Supreme Warrior, Psychic Detective, Wing Commander. I mean, Wing Commander was a little bit different, but I mean, there were a lot of games that were Double Switch, that were FMV, and I loved them, Fahrenheit. So I was really into that. I thought that was the way things were headed, the future, that it was going to go into this FMV thing, and then that was going to become VR eventually, and so I really liked it. And then I went out to my cousin's, and he happened to be, I think he had a TurboGrafx, but he had loaned it to his buddy, and his buddy had loaned him his new Nintendo, or not Nintendo, PlayStation. And I don't even remember. I know he had the demo disc. I don't remember any other games he had because he had Resident Evil, and my cousin showed me Resident Evil, and we played it that night there. And I think within a week or so, I went out and bought a PlayStation, even though they were like $300 or something. Because that was a lot of money back. I mean, it still is a chunk of change. I mean, you're talking. I probably paid around 120 to 100 or 150 to 125 to $150 for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Because what ended up happening is eventually, when I had the Sega CD, a few games came out for the Super Nintendo that I really wanted. And one of them was Super Metroid. And it was the one that got me to buy it. And I remember going to Kmart to they had this kiosk thing, and you really didn't play the games, but it was almost like a trailer for the game. And I remember seeing it and going, God, I can't believe they made a sequel for this game. This just looks awesome. And I was like, you're gonna end up buying it. I knew from seeing it that I was gonna end up buying it, and I bought it, and I bought Super Metroid with it, and then Link to the Past came with the system. Now, I didn't own a lot of Super Nintendo games. I bought more when I got older, but the ones I knew I wanted for the Super Nintendo were the 3 Star Wars games. Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I knew I wanted those, and I knew I wanted Super Metroid, and I was on the fence with Link to the Past. I probably wouldn't have bought it, but since it was a pack-in and I played it, in my opinion, it is still one of the best Zelda games. And I have actually beaten Ocarina of Time, but after that, I quit playing Zelda games. But I would say Link to the Past is the best retro Zelda game. But I think I bought. It was weird because, like I said, fighting games were everywhere. I think I bought all 3 of the Mortal Kombats and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo as well on the Nintendo. Because what happened was, originally I bought the Mortal Kombat on the Genesis. And I've told you that story where the guy at the Walmart was putting stock in the case, and it was a week before the sale date, and I just happened to see they were in that box and was like, "Are these for sale?" And the guy said, "Well, if it's in the SKU, then yeah, we can sell them." And he went up. I go, "Well, can we see if this one's in the SKU?" And he checked it, and he's like, "Yeah." So he sold it to me like a week early, even though he shouldn't have. And I still remember that. And then I bought Mortal Kombat 2 on the Genesis as well. But when it came to Mortal Kombat 3, I bought it on the Super Nintendo first. Because of the sound quality, I believe. It wasn't because of the graphics necessarily. Because I ended up getting all 3 Mortal Kombats on both systems eventually. So, my goal was I wanted Super Metroid, and I wanted the 3 Star Wars games. And that's really about all I cared about. And then I did end up buying the Mortal Kombat games and Street Fighter. And after that, I mean, there wasn't really anything else. The only other game that came out that blew me away was Final Fantasy III, which is 6 or whatever number it really is. And I remember buying it and playing through the whole thing and beating it a couple times, And it was just one of those games that was like perfect almost, at the time for me. And Final Fantasy 2, I really wanted to play it, but it was already like out of the stores by that point, and there wasn't a lot of reselling going on. At least in Missouri, there wasn't. So I didn't ever get Final Fantasy 2 till way later. And I don't know, emulation kind of slowly crept in over time too. But I remember back in '95, my buddy showing me like emulation of like Zelda on, you know, the computer. And I go, that just feels wrong. And he's like, what do you mean? And I go, you're playing a Nintendo game on a PC. I go, it seems wrong to me. But I don't know. It just was one of those things. And then, like, I moved on to the PlayStation. I started collecting stuff for it, you know. And when I very first started collecting PlayStation, everything came in those long boxes. And then they slowly started swapping, you know, going to the smaller, you know, jewel cases and stuff over time. And I remember I wanted a PlayStation 2 when they were going to come out so bad, and I didn't have the money. And I remember back then, I think Bush, the second Bush, was president. I think he was giving some kind of rebates to people of $1,000 or something. And I would, or I don't even think it was that much. I think it was like, I don't even remember. But I knew it was enough that when I got the rebate, I was going to be able to buy the PlayStation 2. And it's funny because I already bought a memory card, and I already had bought Resident Evil Code Veronica, because I was ready. That was the game I was ready to play, and I was just waiting for that check, you know. I think it was 2000 was the year he was giving out the checks. I don't remember exactly, but I remember when I got it. I remember I was a month off. I thought it was coming in August, and the check was coming in September, and I remember being like totally bummed when I figured out that it wasn't coming until a month from then. But, you know, what are you going to do? So, anyway, after that, after I got the PlayStation 2, I collected the hell out of the PlayStation 2. I bought, like, games on games on games. Oh, hold on. Right here. First game I ever bought for the PlayStation 2. And it had the Devil May Cry. And I think shortly after this I bought Devil May Cry, because I had the demo disc for Devil May Cry in there. And then the game disc for Code Veronica, or Veronica X, or whatever you want to call it. And so, but after the PlayStation 2, it took me a long time. I mean, I had the PlayStation 2 for a long time. I rode that console until the 360. Eventually, my buddy had a 360, and he talked me into buying one because of Force Unleashed, the video game, because I was telling him about the Force Unleashed that I played on the PlayStation. He goes, that game's totally different than the one on the 360. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, for one thing, it's a hell of a lot harder on the 360. And he goes, for two, he goes, some of those characters aren't in the one that, you know, that's in the 360. And I was like, oh, really? And it got me kind of interested. And eventually I broke down and I ended up buying a 360, but I didn't buy that game with it, you know. I bought Ghostbusters because it was the newest game that had just come out, and it was supposed to be like the primo game to get at that point, so I bought Ghostbusters. But I mean, really, after that, I mean, we're talking by that time, I was already back into retro collecting because I went to that pawn shop, saw the Dreamcast, decided I was going to get it, or didn't decide I was going to get it, but went over to this other case where they had games usually, and I remember they had like 2 or 3 games for it. They had Rayman, and they had Sonic Adventure, and I don't know, a couple other games, and I ended up buying the whole spiel, the whole deal. And I remember getting so into that Dreamcast when I first bought it, and buying the little microphone and playing Seaman and some of those games that were on there. Like, I beat Seaman, and it's the only Dreamcast game I ever even really beat. But after that, I don't know, the collecting became part of the YouTube thing. It wasn't that I cared so much about the video games, it was more about finding the games so I could show them off to all my buddies on YouTube and talk about them. It really wasn't about playing them or being excited that I found something. I mean, there were times that I was excited to find things, don't get me wrong, like when I found Snatcher, I found Earthworm Jim Sega CD in the wild, or the game gun for the Game Gear, or when I found Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre at vintage stock for $1 each, you know. I mean, those are good memories, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about is this collection here. As I'm getting older, you know, collecting doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, it doesn't really matter because they're phasing out anything that's worth collecting. It also doesn't matter because I'm just getting older, and I know that you can't take it with you, and those things. And I'm 50 years old, and you know, it's been a rough year. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I worked like 2 weeks, and then I got fired from my job because for the last year or so I've been having a lot of problems with my health, and they finally let me go. And I've been looking for a job for about a month and haven't been able to find anything, and been trying to collect unemployment, but that's a nightmare, and I don't think I'm going to do it anymore. I did it for like 2 weeks, and then they're like, I don't want to get into it, but it's just such a hassle and they give you so little, you know, I mean, not even enough to get by. And it's just like, I don't know. It's been a rough beginning to this year, and it's got me to thinking more about what my collection means to me and how it might help me to sell it or sell some of it. But I don't want to, but I do, because at the same time, it's like I have all these games you see sitting on the shelf over here, you know, these shelves. I have them all on emulation. I mean, if I want to play the games, I can play them. You know, this is just shelf filler. And a lot of it was shelf filler from when I was doing YouTube So Serious for about 2 or 3 years, where I really just dove into it and started collecting, mainly to show stuff off to people and spark discussions and stuff. And YouTube is so bland anymore. It's just shows and people that are trying to get a show going, and there's no interaction, and there's no real, you know, I don't know, heart in it anymore, it feels like. And I don't know. So I just have a shitload of games. My whole 3DO collection, although I loved hunting it down and looking for it and stuff, I could really give a shit. You know, the all the newer systems that I bought, the PS3, the 360, I don't really care. You know, I mean, the PS4, I like it just because it's convenient, but I have no real nostalgia for it. I don't have any nostalgia for any of that stuff. If anything, the only thing that brings me nostalgia from it is the fact that I bought it and made a YouTube video out of it. But there are a few things floating around here that I don't think I could ever get rid of. There are a few box Nintendo games over there that were either given to me as gifts when I was a kid. I mean, like a little kid, like 12, 13, you know, from my grandparents, or ones that I bought, you know, when I was young, like my Ninja Gaiden and stuff. Those mean something to me. But the rest of it is like, you know, and same thing with the Sega CD stuff. I mean, there are some of those games that mean something to me, but a lot of them don't. And the Snatcher and the Earthworm Jims, I mean, yeah, monetarily they mean something to me, but as far as like, do I care about them? No. But there are games that do. Like I said, the FMV games that I bought when I was first buying the system, the Shining Force CD I bought, you know, for the system. That was the first game that I bought that really wasn't like an FMV styled game. That and Dragon's Lair, you know, and Space Ace. But I don't know. I'm just really struggling right now and with financial stuff and the way the world is. The world is just a lot different than it used to be 15 years ago. My mother's no longer here. My grandparents are no longer here. My dad's hanging on, but he's slipping, you know, and a lot of my friends that, I mean, I do have a couple. There's a couple of people that I've reconnected with on Facebook, like my best friend from high school, that was my best friend for a couple of years in high school. I'd like to think we were best friends throughout high school, but my senior and junior years were kind of hit or miss with him. But it wasn't his fault and it wasn't my fault. It was kind of the situation I was living in. But we found each other again, and we like to reminisce and talk about the past and Nintendo and things like that. But that's why I care about my collection, is for the memories that it brings back, you know, not the plastic and metal that it is. It's remembering my granddad taking me to Target to buy Faxanadu, or my dad buying me Ninja Gaiden at Kmart because I begged him, and I said, I have the money in my bank account. Just, if you get it, I'll give you the money. You know, I remember playing Double Dribble and Final Fantasy and Ultima, and just figuring games out and not really having a plan for the future, you know, just simpler times. But I don't know, you know, because my mom never cared about video games. She didn't buy them for me. She never once bought a Nintendo product for me, ever. Now, as I got older, she did buy some games and things for me. The one that stands out is my sister. I remember when they first released Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation, because I didn't have a GameCube. I was like, oh, I gotta get this game. And I remember her and my sister bought that game for me. And it's right over there. And it meant a lot, you know. And I remember my buddy, Jake, and staying at his house. And I remember this one Christmas, because he was an only child. But I remember this one Christmas I was living at their house, and for some reason him and his mom went nuts and bought me like a bunch of stuff. And one of the things that he bought for me was one of the Star Wars video games. I remember I got Super Return of the Jedi at Funko Land. Now, I don't remember where I got Empire Strikes Back, but I know Jake bought me the bestseller, you know, Star Wars. And, you know, I mean, that's a memory I'll always have, you know. There's a lot of it that as you get older, you don't appreciate it as much because you just have the money to just go and flop down on it and stuff. But, you know, there's a lot of memories wrapped up in this stuff with good times and bad times. Times when you escaped into it because you couldn't handle reality, you know? Or you just needed an escape, you know? And that's what it is. It's not this hunk of shit sitting over here, you know, because eventually it's all going to end up in a landfill. I mean, eventually it's not going to work anymore, you know, none of it eventually. And so you will have to play them digitally or whatever. So I just know that there's a lot of people here on YouTube that I've met that I'm still friends with. I don't talk to them a lot, some of them, but I still, I'm glad to see they're still making content and still out there. Like I said, Bithead 1000, Sega CD Universe, SNES-tastic's still out there doing stuff. I see Jughead 82 post every now and again. I don't go on YouTube a lot and look up the old gamers and see, but who's putting out what. But I do know that I see regularly Lawn Boy post 1975, and a few guys will post still to this day. And I don't know if they're monetized or not, or trying to make money at YouTube or whatever. I don't see how you can, unless you just flat out beg people for a Patreon, a subscription, so they can basically give you money to make videos and stuff and get by, I guess. I don't really understand Patreon, but I do know that it's just one of those things that I just don't know if I feel comfortable with it or not or whatever, and that's why I never monetized my account either. But I'm sorry, we've been on a roller coaster here of emotions, and some of that is just because of what's been going on with me for the last month, and I'm surrounded by all this shit, and I'm like, what should I do with it? You know, do I need to condense my life down to a suitcase or what? You know, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, and it's just, you know, everybody goes through hard times, and I don't want to regret, you know, kind of snap decisions selling off a bunch of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, does it really matter? You know, does it? I don't even know. I thought I saw something on my face. I think it's just those white hairs. Anyway, let me know what you all think. Do you think that we're collecting memories? I mean, really, in the end, I mean, that's what I remember. I remember going and buying those games, or who I was playing them with, and when, and things like that. Not the actual game itself. And like I said, once I hit YouTube, it was more just about quantity. It was just about buying so much that, a lot of it I don't even really have any memories of. When did I buy that? And I named my YouTube videos shit, so I have no clue what, videos, contain, what. And I really need to pick through it. I've thought about starting a brand new channel. I've thought about just starting a new channel about video games or something, and just trying to build from scratch. But I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't. Because I don't know if my health's going to allow me to work. It just seems like it's hard. Applying for disability benefits takes forever, and you get denied, and it just goes on, and I don't know what to do. I never thought I would be 50 years old and basically have used up my savings trying to survive and not have anything to show for it except a shelf full of, and and I see a lot of people on Facebook now, they won't even put their stuff on Marketplace. They'll join a group. Like, I joined this Nintendo group, and people will just post all their shit and say, I want to sell this, $500 best offer, we'll mail it. Because they're trying to circumvent the taxes or any of that shit that goes, so they go to these public groups, show their shit and say, oh, I want this for it, and see if people will buy it, so they don't have to pay taxes on it, which, I don't know. I see so much of this shit on Facebook with just people, and it just seems like, I don't know, kind of gross to join a page about nostalgia and about looking back on our past, and all you do is talk about, I'm reselling this, or this is how big my collection is now, and I bought this many games this week. I don't care about that. I care about the stories, and that's why I've always liked Bitheads. He's always had good stories. He's got a good memory for those stories that he remembers from his childhood. Now, I don't know, because like I said, I haven't really watched him on a regular basis if he's still that sharp with it, because I'm starting to lose track, and I'm glad I went ahead and recorded what I did when I did, because I don't know that who knows? You don't know when you can get memory problems or dementia or brain fog or whatever. My grandfather had Alzheimer's, and it's possible I could have it, and it's nice to have the record of those videos, the 700 and something videos I put out in about a year and a half or 2 years, and then the other 50 or 60 I've trickled in over the past 12. And usually when I post more on YouTube is when I have had stuff come up to where I just don't know what to do, and I don't know how to feel, and the only thing I can do is escape back into the past of my YouTube-ness. and that's part of the problem is I don't need to escape my reality. I need to learn how to navigate it. And it's just hard, but I do have a lot of memories of games. I'm sorry I got kind of emotional there for a little bit, but some of those games, I mean, I remember my grandfather, taking me to get it or buying it for Christmas. He bought, Major League Baseball or something, or Bad Dudes. I remember getting Bad Dudes for Christmas. I'm bad. That game sucked. The voice sucked, but I mean, I really liked the game. What really pissed me off about that game is it was supposed to be 2-player co-op, and it wasn't, and it was just like, yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna sign off. I'm glad to know some of y'all are still out there. Some of y'all are still checking this out. Not a lot, but some. You don't know how many times I've sat down to record a video or started recording a video or was gonna do some gameplay or something, and I just give up, or I'm like, you're just whining or bitching about something, or you're doing, this isn't what people want to hear. This isn't what people want to see, and I've just shit canned it. I've just thrown it away, and so I mean. There are a few games, like I said, that really stick out to me that I remember, like buying Soul Reaver 2. That was one of the first games I ever bought, aside from Code Veronica and Devil May Cry. And I don't remember where a lot of them came from. Some of them were Christmas gifts, some of them were this or that, but a lot of them were bought at secondhand shops like Game Exchange and stuff before GameStop or Vintage Stock or any of that was. I mean, GameStop was here, but anyway. So I don't know. I don't know what I should do. Because like I said, in the end, I mean, I have all these games on emulation. I mean, whether I got Snatcher sitting over on the shelf or on my computer, I still probably won't play it. And it's just, what could that money do to help me? But then am I going to get ripped off, trying to sell this stuff? It's all an unknown, isn't it, folks? It's all an unknown. We all live our lives. I didn't know 15 years ago when I started doing YouTube or whatever that I would be sitting here doing a video still wouldn't have a relationship or a family, or a spouse or a girlfriend or anything, and living alone in a house and getting fired from his job because his friggin' stomach acts up on him once or every couple of weeks and takes him out for 2 days because he ate some hamburger or ate something that didn't agree with him for some reason or another. And it's just makes you wonder. It's like, man, what happened to me? What happened to me? I'm a good person, right? I mean, I try to be. You guys don't know. I mean, you don't know if I'm a good person or not. You can assume. I'd like to think I'm a good person. And I think that's how people come to the decisions on these videos where these people, are Patreons and stuff, and I think they believe in you, not in whatever you're doing or what have you, but you believe in you. And I don't know, there's been a couple of channels recently that I've been watching. I watched this guy named Tronics Fix. He fixes old systems and stuff I couldn't do, soldering on boards and shit and stuff. And also I've stumbled across this YouTube guy named Tyler Esposito, but his channel's name's My Retro Life. And the interesting thing that kind of grabbed me, and I didn't know till I had watched like 7 or 8 of these episodes, was his grandfather was Mike Esposito, the inker for Marvel, that inked Spider-Man and stuff for years. And he just brings that up in passing. I mean, he doesn't really dwell on that or make a big deal about it. But he does have a lot of video from his father when he was growing up, because his dad was really big into the audio-visual scene and the technology, and he's got all these videos, home videos of him playing these games from when he's a kid with his dad, and it hit me emotionally because my mom never played video games with me, ever. I mean, she liked a few Atari games, but that was about it. And she, like I said, she never bought me any Nintendo stuff or anything. Later on, I said she bought, a couple PlayStation 2 games and stuff over the years, but she didn't really think it was any big deal. And my dad was kind of the same way. He just thought it was interesting, but he didn't think it was really a big deal. And I don't know. I wish I would have had some of that. Someone to share that with at home. Like a brother or a dad or even a sister that was into it. I mean, my sister really didn't care. But to have somebody there that could really, make memories with you and stuff. And aside from my cousin Joe, I mean, there's not a lot of people that I made a lot of memories with other than Kevin, my best friend from high school, and Joe, and I don't know. I treasure those. My grandfather never really played video games with me, but he bought them for me. He liked playing game shows on his PC, like, I don't know what games, I'm trying to think. But like game show type games or trivia games or things like that, he liked those type of things. And I remember he had a computer, but not too many people I knew had a computer when I was a kid. Maybe even until like 92, 93, most people didn't. Until Windows 95 came around, I mean, most people didn't have computers. I mean, I remember in 92, 93 working in the computer lab at school, but it was all Mac-based, Macintosh-based. So, anyway, I was never a PC gamer, long story short. My grandfather, he enjoyed some PC games. Family Feud, things like that, And, I don't know. I kind of wish I hang on to those memories because they're special. They're special beyond this, beyond the plastic and beyond the metal and stuff that'll eventually degrade, or rubber bands that dry out inside systems and break, and I mean, It's all just stuff. But the memories you made with those games, with your cousins, with your family, with your friends, those those can fade, but those are the real value. And I don't know. There's nothing like it. It's like a time machine. Popping in one of those games is like a time machine. I wish my brain would let me enjoy it more. Part of this is just because I've been really depressed and by myself for about a month, and I'm not really going anywhere because I'm just staying at home putting out job applications online. Because anytime I call places or go places, they're like, yeah, just go to our website. So what's the point of going anywhere? You know? I don't even think I've left my house in like 4 or 5 days, and I think when I did, I went to the store, grocery store, and that was it, you know. And it's just I'm starting to get cabin fever, and I'm starting to feel alone, and it makes me nostalgic for these old memories and things, and it makes me wonder, because looking over there is almost like things froze in time, like about 6 or 7 years ago. I mean, it's like I fixed this up, and I was buying things, and I was shopping, I was doing things, and then probably about the time COVID, you know, I just I just didn't care anymore after that. It just I just didn't care. And I do care uh, about the memories, but I don't care about the money or the plastic or anything. And that's all it really boils down to. So hopefully this wasn't too depressing. If anything, look at it in a positive light. Like, the good stuff isn't, you know, these pieces of plastic here, because people have house fires and people have, knock wood, other things happen, and you lose all this stuff, but the memories are still here. They're still there. The internet's still there. You can emulate a lot of stuff, and the memories are what we're hanging on to, not the plastic. Peace, folks. I'll see you later. Seriously, peace. We need some in this world. I mean, everybody's just worn thin. I mean, really. Sorry this got so long, and it was like I had to get some of these emotions out though, because I've just been bottling them up. And like I said, I've tried to shoot like 4 or 5 of these videos, and I tried shooting me playing a game I've never played or something like that, and I didn't have my heart in it. Nothing I've done have I had my heart in recently, and I felt like I needed to make this video because this video shows my heart, shows my feelings, and I just hope that if you take anything away, it's that those good times that you have with your family and friends, and playing those games, not the pieces of plastic, which still it's still exciting. You still get that rush if you see something or want something, especially if it's a deal, which not many things are nowadays. You know, I mean, I remember paying $60 or so for that black box copy of Mario that I have over there at Super Mario Brothers, and it's beat, and it was $60 when I bought it, and that was 6, 7 years ago. I mean, I don't even know. So I can't even imagine what stuff's going for now. I don't even want to know. I don't care. And that's what's funny is on these group pages that I post on Facebook, I asked people, I said, how important is the monetary value of your collection? I said, because to me, it's really not that big a deal. And it's not. I'm just, I don't know how to end this. So, anyway, like I said, take her easy, folks. I'll put out something else a little more lighthearted next time. And thanks for coming by. Peace.